Oh, good morning. I hope you're fine. How are you on this day, 27th, which is more like a holiday, right? And why do I call it a holiday? Many people will be going for voting, so I believe in the, is it 10 different counties, but around 30 or more places where elections are ongoing, by elections for that sake. Because either some of the leaders, MCAs, governors, MPs, either they died or they moved on to other missions, like what happened in Bere when the president chose CS Ruku. Then he had to be replaced. So of course everybody expected peace and democracy and justice, but it's unfortunate because if you look around the globe, let's start with the aspect of Mbere. So of course we looked at Mbere, and there is a one point where J.B. Muturi went to cast his vote, and from the pictures which were showed, indicating much of some chaos right there, and we can see from behind what's happening, and we can also hear what they are conversing and understand that things were not very cool right there. However, I don't know why it has turned out that Mbere has become more of a battleground because of the missiles that have been sent there. I don't know whether you kind of saw the vehicles that were, flowing into Mbere, and this might be confirming what yesterday Gachagua, Kalonzo Musyoka, and his team were posting, because they said there is a threat and there is a plan to have chaos, and then the police come in as if they are creating order. Then pre-filled ballot papers, around 15,000, are stuffed into the ballot box. Now this is typical of Kenya. I normally see even in school elections, which they call democratic, when teachers don't really want somebody, there are some con games that are planned, and things like that happened. And so I don't think, therefore, considering the political positions are more lucrative, and of course Mbere is one of the most lucrative positions, considering the fact that it's going to define whether Gachagua is the kingpin of the mountain or whether Ruto still rules in the mountain. Remember, already the president has taken precautions by registering voters from other nations, including Sudan, Ethiopia, Somali, and we have a lot of other foreigners coming in. Of course, we have Indians who stay with us, and Vietnamese, Pakistanis, the Rwandese people, among other nationalities. So automatically in 2027, as different strategy has been placed, and that is why you are seeing the invasion of the Ethiopian army on Turkana. Maybe the externals know. You saw also the other day Sudan invading Kenya, so that's a different situation. But anyway, let's ask ourselves so many questions. Why is this, why does election in Kenya turn into a battleground with chaos, violence, and all sorts of atrocities being conducted, if not a cow catch? Of course, you understand that in Kenya, most people rise so easily in politics than any other thing that they would do. Civil service cannot make you, build a lot of houses within a short time. When it comes to business, you have to struggle again for you to get to invest that much. It comes to farming, it is a whole battlefield. You cannot invest in 1 year or 2 years. But when it comes to politics, 1 year or 2 is enough to for someone to have looted and conducted a lot of shortcuts that enable them to climb the ladder. No wonder we are seeing this kind of scenario in Kenya. Now let's see the vehicles just as the voting process was being organized in Bere North, and the fear is pulling people up and down. We are waiting to see what will happen at the end of the day, but it defines a very funny Kenya which calls itself democratic. The president recently was in Al Jazeera indicating how democratic Kenya is, but in my view, therefore I doubt how mature our democracy is. And the same thing that was seen in Tanzania with people stuffing ballot papers in ballot boxes happens to be a common strategy here. And if you see why for example, many other strategies are being used, they are just one of the things that goes through the system of Kenya. Yeah, so let's see some pictures right here as we watch on there. And of course, you remember the time of campaigns and how Kindiki would come, then later on Gachagua comes, or Gachagua comes, then Kindiki comes. But it was more of a war between Kindiki and Gachagua, or Ruto and Gachagua instead of Karish and that guy Leo. Alright? Yeah. Now guys, I also had to understand Nyamira has had some chaos, and I didn't know that there is some by-election conducted in Nyamira. However, the fact that bribing masters were there, and after the citizens collected their money, which Gachagua has been telling them is their money that was scammed from capitation or from SHA, among other services that were supposed to be delivered. So we see clearly how Nyamira people behave. And in this picture here up there, you can see they were sending away some of the people who had come to bribe. They were chasing the cars, pursuing them. And I was like, if this continues in Kenya, people will stop this bribery aspect, because I wonder how you can bribe me with 100 shillings or 200 or even 1,000. What is 1,000 currently in Kenya? If you look at our currency, there is a lot of inflation, and 1,000 shillings is not enough even to sustain someone, especially a family, for 3 days. Hardly can it, unless you have your own maize in the house, your beans, and you're just buying maybe onions, tomatoes, and very little stuff. And of course, you understand that will mean you are just buying maybe sugar, rice, and oil. Then the rest of the things are already there. And possibly you have also planted vegetables, because vegetables have become one of the most expensive entities. I never knew it would come to this, but unfortunately, that's the reality. If you feel different, maybe you can drop a comment and, let us know how different it feels for you. But the slapping on our end is quite tragic, that currently when you go to vegetables, they have become part of the very expensive entities, as far as Kenya is being indicated to have improved economically on stocks and I don't know, the dollar value and all those figures that the common citizen will never have an understanding or the typical practical knowledge about what's going on. So guys, let's also now watch the other side of the parliament, because I was in a deep shock that Esther Panyako's, one of the ladies that leads the house, could mislead also at the same time. I don't know why she should be talking about praising the president, better having what did she say? A what dictator? And I was like, a dictator is a dictator. You can never say a dictator is a good person. You are a dictator or a democratic person. And of course, from the little or the few years that we've seen our President Ruto ruling, he's kind of a dictator, and at the same time he keeps grudges. Some of us, of course, personally, I'm one of the people who keeps grudges, especially if someone annoys me and they're not ready to say sorry. But now look at this. This is our president of the nation, and he has really kept grudges on enemies. And even though people say that we don't have permanent enemies in politics, guys, I'm telling you, I think you people don't understand. You think everybody is equal. It's not that. You know, I don't see, for example, those people who participated in impeaching Gachagua. Let's just talk the truth. Do you think he can really forgive them and forget totally about what they did? Even if we talk about politics, don't have permanent enemies. Now, let's talk about what recently we saw coming out of Moses Kuria's mouth. What did that indicate? It indicates that when you're in politics, you have to play a very careful game. Look at Gloria Orwoba, and I don't want to mention everybody. Even J.B. Muturi, what has motivated him to write a book? So that he never forgets. This is permanent story that is creating. Miguna. And so many other people. I don't think they forget the worst thing in life. you may easily forget the good things people have done, but the worst things, it's hard enough to forget, and that's the reality. But most people pretend and talk about politics that doesn't have permanent enemies. Anyway, let's look at Esther Passaris and what she said here. So she's trying to tell us to justify who Ruto is and tell us to love him as he is. Let's watch here.
And I struggle. And now you have this one man called William Samoei Ruto, who dared to run for president of Kenya. And now he's the president of the country, and we expect him to be a miracle worker. Even the things that you should be asking God, you're expecting William Samoei Ruto to give you. I mean, he is working very hard, and he's bold. You know, for me, I mean, if he has to, you know, there's some people say, you know, he's a dictator. But if you have a benevolent dictator and he gets things done, it is not bad for a country.
All right, so who really agrees with this lady when she says that such a dictator is acceptable? I don't think any dictator is acceptable. Any muimla. Tuseme what happened in Tanzania, for example. We saw that Tundu Lissu actually had 19, was it around 19 bullets sprayed into him by the former president. And he was that kind of dictator that Passaris is talking about. Was it fair? It's not. And how about Tundu Lissu forgetting that? And if he was not actually hidden and traveled to America to be helped. Now look at Museveni himself. If it was not the father of Onyonka to have served him into Kenya and hidden him from Obote, where would he have been? And do you think if Obote was alive today, Museveni could equally sit with him on the table and feast? I don't think so. So people, let's stop lying about in politics we don't have permanent enemies. It's a lie that you people create just to make us understand that once a politician, always a politician. But I believe there are some politicians who are very careful even who to eat with and all that, because they know where they actually sit. And Esther Passaris went on to talk, and it didn't make sense to me. I want you to listen at this. She was saying that as long as this kind of leader is creating, or rather building the nation, we should praise. And I was like, are we here to be praising the leaders? And are we really even expecting magic? We don't expect magic, but we expect some kind of quality work. We just want to see leaders doing that work that we assign them to do. Let them have very few excuses, but every time if they keep giving us excuses, blaming the former government or the future or the current people who are campaigning against him, all he's doing is actually turning all his people who loved him towards hatred, you know, because for example, you are currently on the seat. How do you then begin pointing out to those who want to come in or those who left? You have occupied the seat. Do your part. So listen to what Passaris said again.
To get housing, you know, to make sure we had that fund dedicated to housing. Everybody laughed and rubbished him, and everybody starts thinking, oh, he's going to make millions. You know, maybe he owns a cement company, maybe he owns a steel company. Let me tell you, look in your neighborhood and look at the houses, the dignity that our people are going to live in. Mukuru, 14,000 houses, is going to be without raising the taxes. But you can't say we don't want taxes and we don't want a fund.
The taxes are money.
To raise the money so that we can become independent as a country. So I believe that the president of Kenya now is on the right path for this country. We're going to move from poverty to prosperity. The dreams of our forefathers are going to be attained, but they will only be attained.
Sometimes we don't just talk about these things because it doesn't make sense, you know. The housing aspect is not a today's project or tomorrow's, as I know, because so far there were houses which were built in Kibera. How far are they? Do the people in Kibera really occupy them? They're still going back to those houses they used to settle in because they were cheap. You know, like how do you manage the houses in Mkuru Kwanjanga for the people in Mkuru Kwanjanga when their life has not improved? You can't think of building houses which people have to go pay rent for and their life has not improved, then you think they are going to occupy those houses. Forget about it. Passaris, I think you are talking as a wealthy woman. You don't know the pinch of the poor person. And that reasoning of housing just fits in a space of people who have it. In Nairobi, a lot of people are struggling even to have food on their table. So how about the rent for these affordable houses you're calling? Anyway. Yeah, guys, so let's turn to Malava. My goodness, I didn't expect that Malava would be an eruption in the morning. And even at night, I saw this guy, Panyako. You know, In fact, he turned into a little child crying. I don't know how traumatized he was. Maybe we should understand, because for a man to really cry like that, it's something else, guys. So just see this.
Now, lady.
Hata watoto wetu wachukue. My life is not important. Kenya's life is not important. Wewe sikiliza, maisha ya Kenya ni muhimu kuliko mimi. Maisha ya Kenya ni muhimu kuliko mimi.
Three Tapakupili vehicles, Farouk Kibet, are planning mayhem in Manda Shivanga, Butali Chekulo, Chemuche Ward, and Kapras East. I am also aware that Nabina Bwera has received 30 million shillings for the mayhem he plans to cause. Mine is to warn Nabina Bwera, Kibet Farouk, as well as Givish. What is his name? The other name, I don't know his name. This madman called Givish, MCA for Manda Shivanga, and this Givish Farouk.
Yeah, and now speaking of that, that reminds me of what happened at Malava. You know, according to the team by EUGINE WAMALWA explained clearly how it happened, the stuffing of the ballot boxes. He indicates that around 10,000 ballot papers pre-marked have already been dispatched to Malava, and they know where. And my question is that, can they stop it, you know? But I know in the process to stop it, that is what will cause chaos. So here EUGINE WAMALWA was explaining what was happening. Let's see what he says.
The ballots printed in Greece was tampered with. They did not allow us as participants in this electoral process to inspect and to verify these ballots, which was a grievous omission by IEBC. And we do know that the serialization has quite a number that are unaccounted for in terms of ballots. These ballots, 10,000 have been imported into Malava constituency. We are aware another 10,000 has been imported to Magarini, and 15,000 has been imported into Mbeere North. The tool of violence, the violence visited on our candidate directly, is meant to create the environment, conducive environment for voter staffing and voter suppression.
All right, guys, so you saw what he said. And now let's get to Malava now the next morning. People walk up to go vote, but unfortunately they are met by this guy known as Echesa. Is it? Echesa from Mumias. And they also saw the other, you call him what? Livondo, something like that. Yeah, so these are guys who have been used by UDA actually to force leadership. I don't know. Sometimes people should just understand the language of the citizens. When citizens reject you, let them be. They are rejecting you on the basis that you're not working. Farouk Kibet, you are doing injustice to Malava people, because even if you emboss Ndakwa by force, that will not help these people. whichever way. And if you force leadership, people will just know you forced it. So I don't know why they are not just relaxing and letting things be. So they have decided that the only way to deal with Malava is to assassinate Panyako, because automatically once they deal with him, then there'll be no way. So why arrest someone whose home was vandalized? It was attacked the previous day. They almost assassinated him and they wanted to do away with him. Why can't we see also Ndakwa? I saw Ndakwa voting at Mkongolo. I don't know whether I can find the picture, but I believe if we get it, it's right here with us. And on the other hand, I didn't see them showing on any press so far. I've not seen Panyako going to vote, cast a vote. Just to create confusion, of course, the absence of these people might easily lure the DCP to deliver the seat to Ndakwa. But as they say in Luya, Ndakwa means I've already fallen. So I don't know. Even by choosing the candidates, this time round UDA messed big time. They picked this guy known as Ndakwa in Malava, meaning I've fallen. They picked another one, Wamadende, meaning the sitting apparatus in Mbeere. Then they went again to Garis, that's Magarini. They picked another guy. You know, I don't want to analyze all of that, but it's so funny. So people wake up in Malava today and all they find is chaos. In the first place, there is there were vehicles that were approaching, and these vehicles, they indeed were confirming what Panyako was afraid of the other day, because I was like, is he just scared or what is it? But then it happens, 10 vehicles coming with people who do not even belong to this place. And of course, citizens were explaining that here.
When residents confronted them, those buses didn't negotiate.
Na hii nikani nikapata ni mheshimiwa Nabii na Wera alikuja na magari mbili akiwa na ndani ni, sasa mimi niliona mapunduki, hiyo naamini ni maskari ndio alikuwa na mapunduki. Yeye mwenyewe pia alikuwa na punduki, amevaa jacket lakini punduki iko ndani. Maskari walikuwa nao, mmoja alikuwa na pistol iko hapa na jacket kubwa, punduki kubwa ndani. Sasa kitoko za ile tuko kwa barabara pale, tumeona msafara mwingine inafika, kumbe ilikuwa ya mheshimiwa EUGINE WAMALWA. Sasa kufika kauliza watu wamechaa hapa, ni nini inafanyika? Anawaambia kuna mheshimiwa na tafuta support ya kuondoa magari yake mali alikuwa ameingiza. Jo, watu walikuwa ni kikundi kubwa ya magari mingi sana. Magari more than 10. Na wamekuja na mampini na bunduki. Mipini, mapunduki. Sasa katika harakati na EUGINE WAMALWA walikuwa wamesimama kwa barabara. Hao walisuka tu na kuanza kupiga watu nini, na mtu mmoja tulimspot. Huyo ni jamaa kutoka Mumiasi huko. Ndiye alikuwa na hiyo kuni yenye ilikuja na kufamia hii gari yenye naungua ni ya mheshimiwa EUGINE WAMALWA. Wakapiga.
All right guys, so now you realize that citizens are intimidated in this process. I think this is one of the things that violence bears in a place, especially election. And what is this telling us about 2027? Because 2027 is fast approaching, and we are seeing the tactics of politicians getting worse, not better. So it seems a matter of death and life in politics, such that people have to push, pull, kill, hit, and do all they have to do. And it's unfortunate, actually, when you look at what happened in Panyako's home. I don't know, I've not heard of any other place. And again, in the morning we are seeing here EUGINE WAMALWA's car burning, you know. And I'm like, okay, what were those 2 briefcases that came out have? Maybe possibly they'll create a case over it, and they may stuff the pre-marked papers in there and create a case over them. Who knows? You know, these things happen. Sometimes you can look so intelligent and ahead of someone, only to come and be trapped in your own game. Possibly EUGINE WAMALWA was trying to be so intelligent and all that, but he was careless about where he parked that vehicle, because I looked and there was no other vehicle around his own. And I'm told when this Livondo guy and Echesa came with the unknown people, and citizens turned against them, and they even interrogated one of them. It happened that they picked briefcases and disappeared with them. Whatever they had, no one has given information so far. Now let's look at this guy as he's being questioned and listen to what he says. So it seemingly happens that when the vehicles bolted, he was left in the scene. And he didn't like it because people had to deal with him brutally and make him share all the information. And I don't know if people of Malava have seen this, because Malava is big, because voting will take place even to as far as Imbiakalo, Sawawa, Samiti, and all those areas. So it's not going to be in one place, but most primary schools, Lukume, it's wide. Malava is so wide. Malava North, it's so wide. So it's going to take a vast area. And so let's listen to this guy and whatever he was trying to explain here.
One individual he said where he lived, Lucky Summer Estate, Nairobi. And most explosively, he named the man who allegedly sent them, Livondo.
Mimi Dennis Mugambai, huu ni Livondo. Tulikuwa tumekuja kuiba kura ya Panyako, lakini haiwezekani. Tunaomba watu wa Malava, pigeni Panyako kura. Panyako ni kiongozi ambaye atasaidia. Kama Badibani nimenaswa kweli. Badibani nimenaswa. Nani alikuwa amekutuma? Ni Stanley Livondo. Ndiye amekutuma. Na watu wako wapi? Ndio magari yamekuja nayo kwa hiyo. Uchumi magari zimekuja mpaka hapa karibu tano. Sijui saizi kwa wapi. Mimi ni mkazi wa Nairobi. Nairobi unakana wapi? Lakisama. Wani wale mmeletwa. Walikuaje? Wakati wenye magari kitoroka ulitoka nje. Ulikuwa unataka kumaliza hapa Mungu, si ndio? Ulikuwa umetuma kwa mheshimiwa, si ndio? Umalize, si ndio? Nini? Your main objection ilikuwa gani? Ulikuwa unakuja kufanya nini? Mbona unarudi sasa? Weka security.
His words.
All right. That's how much Malava has been. And of course, with this kind of disruption and violence, I don't know whether it's only happening in main Malava area, because that is where Panyako originally, of course, is existing. Because I believe when you look at his premises, the Spring Hotel he's talking about, that specific area is not very far from Malava itself. And I don't know why that is the case anyway. But now let's check on a different aspect. Of course, we are supposed to check also on Kaspul. And so far, Kaspul had the violence before. But then the journey has changed a little bit. We've not had chaos so far at Kaspul. Magarini and Kisa, Gabuchai, Northeastern, we had a station there. Ugunja, among other places. We are waiting to just see what will be coming in. And anything that comes, we'll be sharing with you. So subscribe, like, and comment on the video. And we really appreciate your help so far in this channel. So let's now go to the story of Guinea-Bissau. So Guinea-Bissau actually has had a lot of attempted coups, none of which has been successful. So yesterday, which is 26th of November 2025, it happened that from as mere, a peaceful environment, people had, bullets shatter from a neighborhood of the president. And within few minutes, people are running for their life and escaping this environment, speeding on the streets, so that they may not be affected. And soon there were so many army driving down with their vehicles and pointed guns across the roads. And in a few minutes, then the police or the army had to take over the leadership and announce that they are taking charge of Guinea-Bissau until things settle down. Automatically, that's a coup. And when you look at the former elections as they were proceeding, every the incumbent plus the rival candidate, all of them were proclaiming success, just as it was the situation in Cameroon and Cote d'Ivoire. And finally, it happened that the army did not want to wait because they are afraid. Guinea-Bissau is one of the nations with a lot of riches, but most people are poor because of mismanagement and the way things have not been put in place so well. And I think most citizens are not happy with the situation. And even though they were going to vote here and there, some of them were not so sure about what happened, but they were praying that they get a leader who will correct the errors that have been conducted by the former regimes. So you look at the coup itself, what is it trying to communicate to the leaders? That they really have to take responsibility when given power and do what is right. Because if you compare what happened in, was it Seychelles or Nepal, and then you see what is happening in Guinea-Bissau, situations are not the same in every country. Unfortunately, leaders just believe that they'll go for it, especially if they have been there already in power. They believe they have to take it. I've seen situations even in Kenya. Every time a president wants to, an election is forthcoming, the sitting president really struggles a lot, uses a lot of force, even threatens. You know, they proclaim, they announce themselves and say they are going to win as early as possible, just because they believe if you are in leadership, no one can take you away. You know, they consider that White House, or rather that, you know, the specific seat as they are possessed as family, regardless of the heinous act they are conducting. So it's a lesson kind of to leaders in Africa that when they are in the taking the seat currently, they have to tread carefully and do the best for the citizens, because you never know. You never know. Citizens have different concepts, and again, when you look at the army, you may believe that they are with you, only to realize that they are not. You know, it comes to a situation whereby even what is happening in a country hounds not just the people, but the civilians. Now, no wonder we look at the interior CSS, and all they'll proclaim is that none of the police should ever strike and such things. And of course, on paper they'll look so good and people might try to follow. But what if things become worse? So it's only a lesson to Africa that most leaders should learn to tolerate, to have dialogues and make things better for the nation. If they have not achieved, they need to accept, and sometimes even consenting and just going away peacefully. It's an honorable measure than resisting and sitting on power. Who said that all leaders must take 10 years? I don't understand that equation, because that is one of the things that is really destroying our leadership. People just sit there, do things, and they wait to again grab power for 5 more years and continue ruling. And the second term, most of them don't do well. They don't do well because they know that is kipindi chalala salama, and they can do whatever they want. But all we pray for as citizens is a just system that sees the problems of the people and handles them as they are supposed to. Because we may talk about these things, we may wish that things would be happening, we may lie about figures, we may prove mathematics that is not anywhere. But at the end of the day, what matters is what exactly did we do for the people. That's what matters. And I believe if wholly we focus on that, then we would really make our world a better place than when we just let things look as they do, you know. Yeah, so I appreciate your presence all the time. Continue watching. We are going to have live streams today, I think 2 of them, and then we will call it a day, because there is a limit also to what you can do each day. But I continue urging you to support my videos more than even live streams. Of course, live streams you can come and watch. I don't reject that. But at the same time, continue watching my videos, 30 minutes, 40 minutes or more. And we can see how far we can go. So thank you so much. Have a nice time. Let's meet later.